Time now for Culture Cast with Vicki McKenna. Vicki, good to see you this week.
Great to see you, Duke.
Well, school's starting all around the country, and what you and I said so many times is happening. People are in. You think this summer was bad with all the protests in the public schools. Now that moms and dads are seeing what's actually going on in the classroom, it's about to explode. I don't know what the explosion's going to do, but it's about to explode. And we got this classic example here. We've got Gabriel Gipe, or Jipe, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. He is a full-on Antifa member. He is a full-on communist supporter. He's also a teacher in a relatively rural California school. And he was outed by Project Veritas, James O'Keefe's organization, for the radical he is. It almost beggars description. So I'm going to play the video where you can find out all what Mr. Gipe was up to in his classroom.
I have 180 days to turn them into revolutionaries.
How do you do that? How do you
Yeah. Sacramento organization that is under the banner of Antifa is very loosely organized, right? So like, yeah, when there is like right-wing rallies and stuff, then we'll create an opposition to that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Where would he go to connect to some of these organizations?
I post a calendar every week,
awesome.
and then so and I do it for extra credit, so they get points for doing it. So that encourages them to do it. And I've had students show up for protests, community events, tabling, food distribution, all sorts of things. When they go, they take pictures, they write up a reflection. That's their extra credit. I have an Antifa flag on my wall, and a student complained about that. And he said it made him feel uncomfortable. Well, this is meant to make fascists feel uncomfortable, so if you feel uncomfortable, I don't really know what to tell you. Maybe you shouldn't be aligning with the values that this is antithetical to.
So,
that's so stunning. It's just the values that are antithetical to Antifa, so not being in favor of burning buildings and beating people with chains and hitting people over the head with skateboards and trying to shoot people. I know that's, it's a serious fascist that would object to that.
It is amazing. He holds, a little kid complains, not even necessarily complaining because he sides with the other side. He's a right-winger, just saying it's offensive. And the response of the teacher literally is, then don't be a fascist, right? And there's his classroom
and don't
wall.
Disagree with me. It's basically agree with me and you will feel less uncomfortable.
And the activism, the only way you get extra credit in this class is if you're engaging in far left-wing activism. Well,
violent activism. Promoting or participating in Antifa is violent activism.
Yep.
So that is what he's got his kids doing. So the update on this is that the district fired him. So, Project Veritas, James O'Keefe does a secret video investigation and parents went bananas. There is some video online now of a school board meeting where parents just lost their minds about this on the school board, and the administration fired the teacher. Okay, the administration had to have seen the Antifa flag hanging in his classroom. They had to know because they employed him what his values were. He walks around in a hammer and sickle. He's got an Antifa flag. He's got an overtly political class. They knew what was going on and did nothing until they were shamed by James O'Keefe and Project Veritas, who had to run a hidden video investigation to expose this idiot, this vile, dangerous idiot, and the administration, shame the administration into compliance. God bless Project Veritas, but this is a story that's probably being repeated in multiple classrooms in school districts around the country, and nobody knows about it except administrators, fellow teachers, and students who are too afraid to speak.
Not only that, he had a picture of Chairman Mao in his classroom, which
he used stamps. He had rubber stamps with Mao and Stalin and the great anti-fascist Duke. The communist dictators and the tyrants, and he also had Fidel Castro. But this guy is against fascism.
Yeah, and you said it. This is one extremist that got bumped, and what we've been saying for years. This has been out of control now, and I think we're finally seeing with the COVID break the final transformation from the American public school system we used to know, one that at least tried to prioritize reading, writing, and math, to a system now where all of those things are subordinated to ideology. Math doesn't
100%.
matter. We had that Los Angeles school board member who said, "I don't care. We don't care if your kids can't read and if they don't know their multiplication tables. They now know the meaning of the word insurrection. They now know the meaning of the word coup. If your babies can't do math and spell, we've trained them to be political warriors." And no irony there whatsoever.
So I'm just going to throw this out there again. Why would any parent ever continue to expose their children to not education, but indoctrination? Furthermore, I will go even further. I mean, it seems completely obvious to take your children out of these environments. But furthermore, why aren't you actually protesting the amount of money that goes into these environments? And I know that it's a slow dawning on parents, and not every parent has even figured this out on their own yet, but enough have. The ones who are descending on school board meetings, and good for them, you should always do that. But you should also be strategizing, whether it be financially or logistically, how you can get your kid out of that environment and either into a private school, a homeschool situation, or something that actually values knowledge, wisdom, and education, because it's clear K-12 doesn't. K-12 is about political indoctrination, the indoctrination into the world of sexual politics. It is about political indoctrination. It is about ideology. It's not about math. It's not about science. Science has become scientism. It's not even real any longer in the public schools. Get your kids out now. And if you've got to spend some time figuring out how to shore up your finances, then do that now.
Okay, Vicki, after the break, let's talk about that a little bit more, and let's look at the response of this teacher when he gets fired. Hint, whenever these fascists get fired, they go running and screaming to the Constitution. They want their rights. It's amazing.
Funny how that works, huh?
After the break, we'll pick it up. Back again with the second part of Culture Cast for this week with Vicki McKenna. And we're talking about Gabriel Geip. And while it's a little bit of schadenfreude for a beat-down mom and pop across the country with regards to public education, this is the low-hanging fruit. I mean, the roots of this plague go all the way to the very core of what's going on in education. And one of the things that troubles me the most, Vicki, and it really does, is for the first time in really overt ways, you're seeing the federal government of the United States supporting people like Geip at the expense of moms. I'll give you an example. We have the federal government, the Department of Education, Secretary Cardona, has actually giving money, what used to be COVID relief money, that was handed over to him by the Biden administration. He's now taking that money and he's rewarding schools in Florida who stand up to the Florida mask mandate.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Which is illegal. Him doing that is illegal, to try to essentially, shore up the political resistance of school districts that his own political ideology aligns with. At least we know that that the state of Florida has got a government with a governor with a spine, so that's not likely to stand unchallenged. But yeah, people have to understand, you're exactly right with the phrase low-hanging fruit. This guy was obvious. I mean, he was a screaming neon sign that said, "Look at me, look at me." And finally, someone looked at him. Most teachers and administrators are far more subtle. Not long ago, we talked about Lodi schools. The Lodi School Board realized that critical race theory, whatever name it goes by, was the way education was being framed in Lodi schools. Lodi, Wisconsin, go look it up. We're not talking about a bastion of Antifa and left-wing activism here. And the school board shrugged their shoulders and said, "Oh, gee, shouldn't you have maybe said something to us?" Oh, it's okay. And let's go back years and years to 2015 when Minneapolis schools adopted CRT. In the Madison schools, when functionally that was the lens through which education was going to be was going to be delivered. So this has been going on. This has been coming on the system for a long time. I'll remind everybody, it was 2006 in a speech to Hugo Chavez, where Barack Obama's biographer, Bill Ayers, who was never fired from his position as a professor of education, said, "The motor of revolution begins in the schools." He was serious. He was 100% correct as well, and nobody paid attention to him, even though he was pretty much flying a flag on it.
Before we go, we would be remiss if we did not take a look at Mr. Gabriel Geip after he was outed. Isn't it interesting how when these anti-fascist fascists find themselves in trouble, they always revert to the protections, or they try to revert to the protections guaranteed by the Constitution. Take a look at look at how much smaller and weenier he looks when you get a chance to see him in public walking around.
Say thank you to every past student and colleague and friend who's reaching out right now in support of what is happening. My personal safety and security is obviously my top concern at this moment, but also they are coming from my job and what I love doing in the classroom, and they are going to run this campaign and get public pressure behind them, and it is very likely that the district will cave in regards to this, and I'm hopeful that they don't, and all support at this moment is greatly appreciated.
My health and welfare are under assault. You think so? I mean, you are engaging in treason against the United States of America. I know we only apply that to Trump supporters, but this is much worse than anything that happened on January 6th.
He is advocating for the destruction of the foundation of the United States government, an obliteration of the Constitution, an absolute upending of our government, our system, our rights, our economy. And the way that he advocates doing it and gets his students to do it is by throwing Molotov cocktails and swinging chains and beating people with baseball bats and skateboards. But he's really worried for his health and his welfare, and he really hopes that, the district doesn't cave. You know what? Again, low-hanging fruit, and this guy was a screaming siren on what is going on. Parents, your job, again, get your kids out of these environments and start being the investigative reporters like you see at Project Veritas, and expose this widely, or nothing will change. And we will be continuing to fund this to the tune of trillions of dollars. We are spending trillions of dollars to allow leftists who loathe this country to destroy it and harness our children into service of the destruction. Stop letting it happen.